What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Notorious Auto Glass Podcast for all you hating motherfuckers that are listening to everything we're producing. Welcome back.
The haters are gonna hate.
Oh, we've had a lot of hate this week.
Let's not get into that right now.
Okay, we're not getting into that?
I mean, we can save it for a little later.
We'll
but
save it
let's
for the end.
let's
Save it
talk
for the
about the intrapreneur within a business, outside of a business. You know, Mike, explain it. The difference between the two, and maybe what's is good for you.
All right, well, what I think you fucked this up already because
There
you
you
should
go.
have been like, hey, Mike, like, what do you think about going out on your own and opening a business?
Fuck up.
But Steve's brain doesn't process it like this. Like right now, he should just be like shooting glue on a car and putting a windshield in. He shouldn't even be
Exactly.
sitting here next to me.
Exactly.
He's
should be programming modules on the street right now.
He's do some diac shit. Well, anyway, so the topic he should have asked me was, hey, Mike, like, what do you think about opening up your own business? Like, what advice would you give another glass guy? So we experienced this in the past few days. We've been talking about it with our own employees, and you know, a lot of guys get into this business and they automatically assume it's like you're going to print money because they see a lot of transactions with, you know, the business they're working for, a lot of hand cash being handed and credit cards and, you know, all the usual stuff that a business does to operate. And they get in their head that they think it's easy. So then they'll get on these Facebook groups or these YouTube videos and people are like, yo, it's so easy. Go on your own. Just get a van. And just start installing glass because, you know, it's something that one guy in a van could do. Is it sustainable? Yes, but for how long? I don't know. You know, after a while, it kind of gets, you know, it's repetition. And, you know, if you build a good clientele, there's guys that are by themselves for 30 years, they do phenomenal. But, you know, it takes time to get there. So you're not going to open up your first day and be successful. Like, to open a business and be successful, it's going to take you, you know, years. You know, we're in business 10 years. I'd say the first 5 years was a complete waste. You know, it was a complete learning process. We didn't operate the way we should have. We've rebranded. We changed the name of the company. And, you know, we went down the road of the road that most people do when they first start because we didn't know any better. So we're giving information here to you so you do it the right way the first time and you don't got to, you know, waste 5 years of time because you could do a lot in 5 years. So when you first open an auto glass business, you know, you have to understand that you got to open the business legitimately. You cannot just get a van, buy tools, and expect to install glass. Now, Steve, what do you think? You think that's like the most common thing people want to do?
Well, I'll run it down my story. So I worked for Slave Light originally. I came out of there. So, you know, whatever happened. Fucking these guys are jerk-offs. So whatever happened with them. I went to, you know, I was looking for other glass shops. So at the time, there was other small mom and pop, small businesses. You know, I would work here, work there. But I get the usual runaround. They cut my hours, cut my pay, cut this, cut that. And I seen it a lot back in the day with the industry. Guys would start with that. You know, they would be treated like shit. And then what happens? The guys break off, and then they jump in the van. They're in their pickup truck. They're in their minivan. You know, they start out of nowhere. So what I did when I started, same thing. I got fired from a shop. Not because I wasn't performing. It was, you know, pay and hours, all the bullshit.
Hungover. You left that out, being extremely hungover.
It didn't even matter. I was the best guy in there. I could walk in hammered in the morning, still do 10 jobs and get everything done. They didn't care, you know. So, but after that, I got fired. I went on my own, and it's like, you know, I'm going like this, scratching my head. You know, I didn't know where to get parts. I didn't know where to get supplies. I had no clue about opening a business. I had no idea about insurance. You know, all these little things that you need, the foundation to start and build a business. I had no clue.
Just tell them you were a cockroach.
I was an official
Cockroach.
kuka. So, yeah, slinging the 428. I always shot V-beats, though. Never a round beat guy. But I always try to bring the best, you know, of my skill and everything, the correct way to replace a windshield. A lot of other shops, everything like that, I didn't like their techniques. You know, I work for somebody. You got to go by how they want the things done, even though if it's not the correct way. So that's another thing leading to why, you know, like I left or I got fired or anything like that. But you have to build the foundation first before you start to scale or even try to elevate your business, because something could happen. You could get knocked down, and then it could be a whole mess for you to try to come back correctly from that. So, that was before, me and Mike came together. But even then, we still didn't know the ways in and out of everything. It took years to figure that out, put it together, to do things correctly so we don't stumble or have an interruption in business as we're moving forward.
Is it?
That's about it. What else,
All right, so basically what Steve is trying to sum up here is to open a business, you got to operate legitimately, right? So when you first open the business, you have to get business insurance. You have to open a checking account to operate the business. You need to get commercial insurance on your van, because if you put a passenger plate on a van and you get into an accident and you're using it for business, they will sue you personally and you will not be covered. So I highly, highly recommend, if you're doing that now, to switch over to commercial plates. It's definitely the way to go.
And put the van in the
business. We know from experience,
not personal name,
that we've had a massive, major accident happen within our company in the past year, and thank God we had maximum coverage and we had commercial coverage, and the vans will let it up and the trucks will let it up, because those things will all not hold up in court if they attempt to sue you. So do it legitimately. If you want to take credit cards, you got to have a credit card processor. You can't get by with just doing the whole Zelle thing and PayPal and Square and Venmo. That doesn't work no more.
Nope.
After $600, you're getting a 1099. So you know what that means? That they're reporting that income. Those platforms are reporting that income to the government. So the government, if you're not submitting any kind of income, the government's going to want to know where that came from. So if you want to be a subcontractor, those are the main things that you're going to need to get started before you go on your, if you want, it doesn't mean that you have to be a subcontractor, but for whatever you want to do, you want to go out on your own. Because now a legitimate company like us, we're going to look at you and say, well, you want to subcontract for us, but do you have the right credentials to work under us? And when, you don't have those things set up and in place, we're not going to work with you. So you lose opportunity right there. And especially when you work with guys like us, a company like us, you have access to a lot of information. You have access to a lot of different windshield options. You have access to our knowledge. And right there, we're bringing such a tremendous amount of value that we could help you excel your business a lot faster than, you would do it if you had to do it by trial and error.
Trying to figure it out.
So
yeah.
we made our mistakes already. We, at one point, didn't operate the right way. We didn't have business insurance. We were rolling out of an S10 pickup truck with passenger plates. We did this already. But to be legit, you have to go the other route. And we wasted 5 years. So, we're going back about 10 years ago. So if we did that, we started how we started 5 years ago when we did the restart, we would be so much further along on our mission and our purpose in this industry. Right. But, now we're here today. God bless everything that happens and the connections we made and the things we learned and everything with this empire we're building. But, we had to learn from the failures, and I'd rather be able to give you that knowledge and that information to share it with you now so you can just skip over the bullshit and knock that out of the way. So you remember, business insurance, commercial insurance, if you're doing mobile, you do a mobile service, you need to get a checking account. You need to, anything that your state requires to be a legitimate business, you'll get an accountant. I'm not saying you need a CPA, but get someone that could help you and guide you with what you could do with your taxes, because there's a lot of write-offs involved in owning a business. It's not like when you just get a W-2, you have, your gas is, there's so many things. We could go on and on about all that
There's
stuff.
so much, yeah.
There's so much. You could pretty much write off
so much you need to know within
the business.
Yeah.
But what do you think is the biggest mistake that guys do when they first try to open up? Do they just rush it? Do they just leave safe? They leave the small mom and pop shops and say, fuck them. They try to pop their accounts, right? They try to take their business. They undercut themselves right off the bat. Right?
Well, exactly like what I did. I left a shop that I built up road service for, and, I knew those clients. So, to me, I was like, all right, I just went right off, jumped in the truck and tried to go get customers. Was it the right way? No. Because something could have happened, and then I could have got sued or something, working on a car, damaging a car, not having the coverage, the proper safety behind me to do it. But a lot of guys just jump in the truck, let me go buy a windshield, charge this guy, for cash, slap it in, and get paid. How long can you do that for before, something happens? Especially now, since everything changed, with the calibrations and the ADAS, there's a lot more risk on a job of something going wrong. You burn out an ADAS lane departure camera. If that gets burnt out, some reason when you're installing, calibrating, something happens. These things do happen. You know, a camera could be $2,000-$3,000 that you need to, you know, replace. So you need to safeguard yourself. So if things like that come up, you know, you're not taking a financial hit like that initially starting out. And this is why we explain, you know, you have to have the foundations of your business set up before you actually go out there and start slinging glass around.
And I'm not trying to discourage anybody from going out on their own, because I am all for it. I'm all for small business. I'm all about just getting out there and just doing it, not thinking about it. But you need to set up some sort of plan. And I'm not saying this needs to be like a very, you know, complicated and you know, complex business strategy. You just got to get a plan to, hey, how am I going to operate and how am I going to survive the first 3 months? That should be your main goal, is what I need to get up and running, what things do I need to be put in place, and who could I go to try to help me get going. You know, some guys, some companies are willing to help other guys, some companies are not. It just depends on the area. It's very easy to tell who's who. You know, if we had guys come here that say, hey, listen, I want a subcontract for you, this is how I perform, this is my work, and they could prove to us that they're, you know, they could bring us some value, I would 100% hire them to sub them out. But you know, everybody kind of like jumps ahead of themselves and doesn't really think it through in the sense of like, how am I going to make money? So, you know, a person that goes from paycheck to paycheck every week working, just say it's Safelite, now, you know, you got to go out and get a vehicle to, if you're planning on doing mobile service. I mean, that's probably cheaper than getting a brick and mortar location, unless, you know, you might have somebody that's going to give you an open bay, but you still need to advertise to get the customers. You know, to buy good business cards, we're not talking, you know, $100 on Vistaprint anymore. You know, we're talking $400 or $500. Then you got to have somebody design them. However route you go that, you need to find a logo. You know, there's so many different things that go into operating a business, just besides like, hey, I'm installing a windshield, give me the money, and you leave. Right. There's a lot of responsibility. So when Steve first started out in 2007, I'll never forget, I worked at an auto parts store at the time. Steve was never on time to the jobs. I used to middleman the job, and I used to make some money. I used to make like $40 off the job if I got a windshield out of the auto parts store. Steve was never on time because he was always hungover. But that's besides
working hard out.
But it was different then, because back then you were putting a windshield in and you were just taking a mirror off and putting a mirror on. Exactly. Yeah, some of the cars had moldings. That sucked.
That was it.
If it was cold out, it definitely sucked. Moldings, mirrors. Universal came in handy. Universal molding, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't as complex as it is now. It was more basic, like a windshield. You know, a car would have, some cars, like 4 or 5 cars that have the same windshield in like a Ford or something. Now, a Jeep Compass, there's like 17 different windshield options. And it's not easy to find out what windshield is, and sometimes the customer doesn't communicate with you. So there's a lot more liability in what you're doing.
Right.
So, you know, a piece of glass that used to cost you $35 to $40 that you could tack $100 on top, and you could do the windshield for $150, that's all out the window. Right. I mean, you know, it's funny we're talking about this subject because, you know, one of our workers who we love, he's a fucking great guy. You know, he wants to go out on his own, and I'm like, hey man, I'll help you. I'll show you what to do. But he didn't understand what it took to get out on your own and be legit. So he wasn't thinking, like, he didn't understand that, like, right. He's like, I'm just going to get a van and that's it. No, there's so much more to it. But what we tried to explain to him, you know, yesterday was, hey, we bought 2 windshields that were like, almost $4,000.
Yeah, 2 dealer pieces. Right.
We had someone closed a mirror on a transit they were working on, and the side view mirror, like the glass just fell out, and I replaced it anyway, just because, you know, we were the last person to touch the car. You know, I don't want, you know, to go back and forth to the customer. It doesn't make sense. Actually, I swapped it off for one of my vans and just ordered a new one for my van, put the broken one on my van, and you know, called it a day. But that broke, and then another windshield stress cracked yesterday, just handling it. Mm-hmm. You know, that windshield, if you have buy it from a supplier, it's $200. Right. So you're talking $4,390 in just 3-4 pieces of something that we purchased this week. So the guys don't understand that, like, not that you need a lot of capital to operate, but you need to, you know, you got to figure out how you're going to generate money, because it's not just like, hey, I'm going to go buy the glass from the supplier. What about the paper towels? What about the primer? The moldings, the rain sensor gels.
All the stuff you need today. Clips.
You know, the daubers, the clips, you know, the right tool. I mean, there's so many different things. It's, you know, like, everybody thinks because you own an auto glass business, and I'm not saying, some guys operate at bare minimum. We don't operate at bare minimum. We have everything we need, and we always have an abundance of what we need. But what I notice is guys that work for you automatically start to count your pockets and assume like, oh, he just charged his customer $650. Wow, this guy just made, he paid $50 for that glass. He just made $600. They don't understand, okay, well, the recal equipment that we have to use to recal his car, we're in it for $15,000. Yeah. And that's $1,000 subscription every year. They don't understand that the Daba, the primers, the paper towels, the fuel to get there, they don't take any of that into account. So at the end of the day, your net profit on that job might have been, $190, and that's after paying your employees, paying employee taxes, paying medical benefits, paying 401k matches. Like there's so much more that goes into it than just replacing the glass. And guys in their head think it's that easy. And I'm not saying it can't be that easy, but to be legit and build something that's actually worth some sort of value, that's what it takes. And what we see in our industry is we see a lot of guys that are in business 20, 30, 40 years. Their businesses aren't worth shit. They're worth nothing. They take a lot of cash, which that doesn't work anymore. It's too hard to track.
You're gonna take it and put it where,
You could sleep on your mattress, on the ceiling of your house. But the thing is, if you go to try to purchase something, how are you going to purchase something with all that cash? So say you want to go purchase a fucking 911 Turbo S. A sticker on that car is $260,000. All right, you have $260,000 in cash. How the fuck are you going to buy it? Because no one's going to accept it.
Yeah, dealer's going to ask, where's this from?
Where's it from? You can't just go put that in the bank.
Can't just go drop it in the bag on the counter.
The thing is, if you start out legit from the beginning, then it solves all your problems. And then you don't got to worry about putting an orange suit on your back. Like if you're paying taxes, that means you're making money. That's what you want to do. That's what your goal should be. And, people say, oh, fuck that. Give me the cash under the table. Yes, but you're not worth no value. So when you try to retire and you try to get out of this business, guess what? They ain't going to give you shit. They're going to be like, well, you only have $100,000 in insurance jobs on paper. Where's the rest of the money? Oh, man, I make fucking $500,000 a year. Where is it? Where is it? You're driving an old-ass van, ain't worth nothing. You have no assets there. Mm-hmm. You have no calibration equipment. Right? You have all your tools are beat up. Like what assets do you have to sell with your business? Oh, I could sell my phone number. I have these customers for 30 years. It just doesn't work like that no more. And that's what we see in the industry. And if you want to build something real, it takes time. Everybody wants to play business instead of fucking building a business.
Right.
And I heard that from somebody else recently on another podcast. That wasn't me.
I like that.
But it's the truth.
I like that.
Everybody's playing business out here.
Playing business, making it look good.
They make it look good, but the internet makes everybody look good. Like everybody probably thinks we're loaded. We are far from loaded. Please, right?
You're looking at it, right?
You're looking at it.
Look,
this is everything we have is invested in the company. I was on a business coaching call on Tuesday, and one of the guests on this in this coaching group I'm in is a guy that sold his company for like $14 million a couple years ago. And, everybody's always, everybody's asking these questions, which is like a Q&A, and they're asking, basic things that like I wouldn't ask. And the question I asked him was, hey, when do you stop scaling? I said, because I've been scaling, I would say that we've been really going hard for 6 years. But before that, it was a fucking joke. Me and him were, we were weekend warriors. We were out drinking. We weren't doing the right thing.
Taking money.
We were always
reinvesting
late.
Into the business. A lot of things.
We never reinvest in the business. If the business made $2,000 that week, we took $1,000 each,
in half, yep.
And then the next week we're like, all right, who got money to buy glass? That stopped 6 years ago. Well, one of the questions I asked is like, hey, when do you stop scaling? He's like, I never stopped scaling. He's like, I stopped scaling the day I sold my business back in 2019, which makes a lot of sense because, I argue with him all the time, and like Steve doesn't handle the financials most of the time. And I'm like, bro, all we're doing is spending money. Like this money's just coming in and money's going out the door. And like, I'm like, when are we going to eat a little bit? Everybody else is eating. Everybody that works for us eats, or everybody we deal with eats. Everybody gets paid. We wire money here, wire money there. Everybody gets taken care of. And I'm like, yo, when are we going to eat? And it's just never going to stop. It's going to take time because, if you want to build some real shit, you want to build something that's worth value, it takes years. It's not going to happen overnight. So all these, once again, I heard this on another podcast, all these young people, coaching groups, the fucking motivational speakers all over the social media, most of them are fucking frauds. They rent fucking cars. You're not going to make fucking $6 million a year fucking doing bullshit. It takes a long time.
Fly by night guys, yeah.
It takes a long time to build something. And, we're coming from a service-based business. So it probably takes even a little longer because, you know, our relationships with our customers is how we generate our money, because we provide a service that they love and they come back for more. And then they, you know, it's all referrals from there. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't do a lot of advertising. The last 4 months, we're advertising a little bit. Fucking waste of money. All you're getting is tire kickers. You know, you other glass shops that have been calling me for quotes, you think I'm fucking stupid. Trust me, I'm not. I'm not. I have you guys on a spreadsheet, all you guys that call. So I know you're listening to this shit.
Uh-oh, that's the hater talk. The hater talk's coming in.
We could go into that, too.
The hater talk.
I mean, we could go on days. I know this podcast is jumping all over, but
going back to starting the business is about the foundation. You have to build that foundation. If you don't build it, you could go up and then you fall down the ladder. If that's not there to safeguard you and your business, you could go into the negative and go really bad. Backwards.
Expensive mistakes.
Mistakes, correct. We did it. You know, we had $20,000-$30,000 mistakes. Like, we're like, oh, fuck. You know?
Now I laugh at it. I'll take a $20,000 mistake all day.
Yeah, now it's
it's like a $100,000 mistake.
But then, you know, then we weren't making money. You know, we were making money, but it wasn't, you know. I remember in the beginning, me and Mike split up money after bills were paid. It was like,
it wasn't even bills. What are you talking about?
Whatever.
Come on.
Whatever bills we had.
Hold on. We had.
Well, whatever we had at the time.
We had fuel. When we first started, it was like $1.99 a gallon for fuel. We had a 4-cylinder S10 pickup.
Yeah.
Okay, we changed the head gasket on that. What'd that cost? Like $350?
Well, listen,
right?
that's a lot. That's a lot. When you make it 200 a week.
We have a Magic Jack phone, right? Hooked up to your DSL at your house or your cable, right?
Shit.
And we had a cell phone.
Cell phone.
And that's another thing. Like, guys, if you plan on opening a business, get a separate phone dedicated
100%.
to the business.
Don't mix it.
Because do not mix it. Because there's nothing more frustrating than, hey, you're out like doing something on a Saturday, later in the day, you're hanging out with your friends, you're with your family, you're hanging out with your kids, and you got customers asking you, I know it's Saturday and 8 o'clock at night, you know, can you get me a price on this windshield? You know, I just broke it. I can understand it's nice to give your customer that access to you, but when you get to a certain level, you don't want them to have that access. That phone should be off when you're not working. It should be only used during business hours. You'll learn that. It gets very annoying and frustrating. You cannot be accessible to everybody at all times.
Well, the way I see it with that, I mean, it's sometimes depends on the customer. A customer like that's calling you at 9:30 at night, to me, I don't want to deal with. You know, why is he... You know, he could just message me 8 o'clock in the morning.
But if it's somebody you know, it's a difference.
Right. Depends on the customer. I mean, you do business with a person, different story.
Like, we have a particular customer that only asks for quotes on Saturdays or after 5:30 because they think I'm going to answer the phone, which I don't. I always leave them on hold, and I get them back the next day. But all the other companies they're using, they cut their phones off at 5 o'clock.
Right.
So
That's it.
he's just looking for a quote that base it to give his customer the quote. You know?
Right. I mean, depends on the customer. Good customer, I might answer you after hours, you know. But a basic, regular phone call, you know, I'll call you back at 8 in the morning, normal operating hours of business.
Oh, another thing, if you plan on going out on your own, you know, if you want to, you want to get into to opening this glass company or subcontracting, you're going to have to buy a glass program because you're going to need to know the part numbers and you're going to need to know what to buy. And most of these warehouses, you can't just call up and they're not going to look up the car for you. You got to actually look it up yourself. So that's another thing. I see a lot of guys, pen and paper. It's 2024. Get rid of that shit. Come on.
You ain't tracking nothing like that efficiently. You know.
I know we can go on for days about this. We got to wrap this up. We got some other things some more content to create today. We really trying to get into doing this on a regular basis. Hopefully, things will be changing in the next few months, and I'm going to be around in this area more often. So, I'm definitely I really want to start putting out some more podcast content. I really enjoy it. It's kind of like therapeutic in a way. I mean, I wish Steve would step his game up. Maybe if he gets a piece of paper here and writes down the questions he wants to ask
there you go.
Instead of me just talking the whole time.
This shit ain't
I can do this shit in my house. I can just take the boom, put it next to my computer. I got a nice backdrop, and I can just talk all day.
Well, we know you.
But
him,
he fucking this guy. He fucking over here. He sees the fucking blinding lights because we're blind by the lights right now. That's why you should wear sunglasses on podcast.
This guy's fucking eyeballs are spinning 360s right now.
So I got to fucking deal with your ass all fucking day.